Vice Media hires financial advisors to find a buyer and may sell itself in pieces. The only buyer I could imagine is a rich troll like Elon Musk, buying them for the bare minimum and giving them a small shred of hope, and then just shutting the whole thing down and firing everybody. That's all that Vice is good for. All these legacy fake news outlets, yeah, why is anyone keeping them around? Vice Media, the digital media company previously valued at $5.7 billion, has hired banksters to look for a sale, according to people familiar with the matter. Should have sold while you were riding high, huh? Yeah, like Clownfish points out, like these companies they're usually trying to ride out venture capital. And once the venture capital runs out and they're still not profitable, they're going out of business. And I personally find it absolutely hilarious to see these same fake news outlets that they spent years shitting on their own audience because that's what gets them all those sweet clicks, right? Now suddenly they need to rely on their audience for their paychecks. And for just $1 a day, you could keep us afloat. It's like, but you called me a fucking Nazi. I'm not going to give you money. It's always a beautiful sight to see companies that turned on their own audience then try to turn to that same audience and beg them for a bailout. Like, they stabbed you in the back to appeal to advertisers. They stabbed you in the back to appeal to investors. They stabbed you in the back to get that government ESG money. And once all of that fails them, then they come to you with their hands out. Hey, remember all the good times we had together? Can you bail out, please? Bail out, please? Yeah, I know I doxed you and tried to get you fired and called you a Nazi, and now your whole neighborhood thinks you're a pedophile. But that's water under the bridge, right? Like, you're not as bad as us, right? You're going to bail us out, right? And these same bottom-feeding sacks of shit that make a career out of doxing people and getting people fired, when it's their turn and they lose their jobs, they act all indignant when either nobody cares or people are happy about it. People familiar with the matter said that several buyers expressed initial interest in acquiring Vice directly, while finding a single buyer would be a simpler solution for Vice, given potential valuation issues and the company's outstanding debt. Vice is also exploring options to sell the company in pieces, the people said. Yeah, notice the wording here. Several buyers expressed initial interest in acquiring Vice. Then they saw the financials and went, nah, you guys, you're on your own, man. It's like all those investors that the SPAC that BuzzFeed went public with. Once all the investors in the SPAC found out that the company they were going public with was BuzzFeed, they pulled out. So remember how BuzzFeed went from expecting like $200 million to getting like 16 million or something ridiculous like that, because none of the investors were willing to invest in BuzzFeed for good reason. Friday, Vice is reported to be shopping for its content studio business and named PJT Partners and LionTree as banks helping the company with that deal. Vice's most desirable assets will likely be its content studio and creative ad agency. Virtue, people said. The studio's business includes Pulse Films, which Vice announced in March has acquired, and they acquired it after previously only holding a controlling stake. Pulse has produced a number of popular music documentaries, including Beyonce's Lemonade and Beastie Boys' Story. Haven't heard of any of these, actually. I guess they're very popular. One person said the documentaries market is particularly hot right now for sales and consolidation. That means it's probably on the cusp of a crash. So Vice attempted to go public via a SPAC last year. See, BuzzFeed is the one that kind of showed all the rest of them that this isn't going to work, because BuzzFeed did it and made pocket change. Didn't save them. Now Vice tried, didn't work. So reaching an agreement with was it 7GC and Co Holdings. CNBC reported last year the plans to go public with an IPO stalled after the market calmed and investors were not sold off on Vice's prospects as a standalone public company. So kind of like BuzzFeed, the investors backed out But unlike BuzzFeed, Vice actually backed out too. So Vice was an early darling in the digital media industry, culminating in current year -5 with an investment of $450 million from private equity firm TPG, which valued the company at nearly $6 billion. Vice targeted a valuation of around $3 billion, including debt, when it tried to go public last year. Two people said that if Vice agreed to a deal to sell the entire company, it would likely get a much lower price than that. The Wall Street Journal reported last year that Vice has estimated it would reach $1 billion in revenue by the end of current year. Oh, plus one. So I bet they might reach $1 billion in revenue, but how much you want to bet they have $1.2 billion in expenses? Oops. The Vice is considering selling as it seeks liquidity for investors and to help pay off about $1 billion in debt. The Disney already wrote off its $400 million investment in current year -3 with the expectation that it would be worthless. Wow, Disney actually made a good financial decision. Of course, after it made a poor one in investing the money in the first place. But hey, you know what? Don't throw good money after bad. The sunk cost fallacy, like that drives a lot of people to bankruptcy. So people said discussions with potential buyers are ongoing. They said no deals confirmed or imminent. One person said TPG is not interested in acquiring Vice entirely and is instead looking to monetize some of its investment. So TPG, they sank in $450 million into Vice. How much you want to bet if they wanted to buy it outright, it would maybe cost them $400 million? So the market is very active in the studio space at the moment. We built a world-class studio company, is expanding world-class. That is expanding world-class, all right, which is generating inquiries, world-class inquiries. When there's that kind of world-class interest, we have to look into it for our world-class investors, said the deputy spokesperson. Beyond that, there is nothing world-class to comment on. TPG spokesperson declined to comment. They're embarrassed at losing $500 million. That's what this is. Vice also owns a news site and other digital media assets, including Refinery29, which it acquired in current year -3 for $400 million. One person said that the digital media companies like BuzzFeed and Vox Media have consolidated their assets in recent years, could be potential buyers of those assets. You think that BuzzFeed is going to swoop in and buy you when they're struggling to be bought out themselves? Okay. Yeah, you guys keep holding out hope for that, and we'll see where it gets you. Yeah, how would you like to buy $1 billion in debt? Doesn't that sound like a sweet deal? I don't know who wouldn't want it. Now, if this was the old days, you could find some idiots to buy the debt. It sounds stupid, right? It's like, who would buy debt? Well, mortgages are shopped around all the time. When you buy quote unquote debt, you're basically gambling on the person actually paying it off. So let's say you got a $150,000 mortgage. If you make the minimum payments and you do it for all 30 years, you're probably going to end up paying about $250,000 in the long run. So that's a $100,000 profit. So your mortgage, at least from my personal experience, usually it gets bought within a few months and then it kind of stays a bit stable. So whoever bought your mortgage, bought your debt basically towards the beginning of your repayment term, they're gambling that you're actually going to pay it off and you're going to pay the minimum. So they bought your $150,000 debt banking on making back $250,000. Now, where it all falls apart is that's where you got the subprime mortgage stuff. Exactly. Yeah, you had too many companies buying too much debt from people that could never pay it off, and everything came crashing down. Big oopsie right there, I guess. Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.